All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive. We're tackling the Airr Alexa 35 camera today, and let me tell you, this thing is a beast. We're going in deep with the Alexa 35 Software Update Package 1.2 user manual, so consider this your backstage pass to all the juicy details.
It's a pretty remarkable piece of tech.
No kidding. So, first things first, what makes this camera so special? We're talking 4K Super 35 format sensor. Wider dynamic range is like the ultimate toolkit for capturing visuals.
And when you say wider dynamic range, you mean it can see details in the brightest highlights and the darkest shadows all at the same time. It's really impressive.
Like way more control over the look of your film than ever before.
Yeah. And it's not just about the dynamic range. The low light performance is insane. You can shoot in practically any lighting conditions and still get incredible detail.
Like if you've ever wanted to shoot a scene that's like super moody and dark, this is the camera for you.
For sure. And it's not just about the technical specs. The Alexa 35 captures color so beautifully, making your footage look truly cinematic.
Oh, absolutely. The colors are so rich and vibrant. It's like a whole other level.
Yeah.
And speaking of taking things to another level, let's talk about ARI textures.
Oh, yeah. Textures are game changers.
Right. It's like having a library of different film stocks right there on the camera.
Exactly. Each texture lets you fine-tune the grain and the sharpness of your image.
You can really create a specific look and feel. Like imagine you're going for a gritty noir vibe. There's probably a texture for that.
Definitely. And for a dreamy, romantic scene, it's so versatile. And speaking of versatile, we have to mention the lens compatibility.
Oh yeah, the lenses.
Yeah.
The LX-A35 works with a huge range of lenses, from modern to vintage, anamorphic, spherical, you name it. So you can get really creative with your setups.
Plus, it's compatible with Super 35 and large format lenses. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Right, so you're not limited by your existing lens collection. You can use what you have and still get those amazing 4K images. And speaking of things that are amazing, let's talk about power options.
Yeah, the Alexa 35 is pretty flexible on that front.
You can use onboard batteries, external power inputs, and there are even a bunch of output connectors for accessories. It's designed to adapt to whatever situation you're shooting in.
And I thought this was cool. The ND filters automatically go into a safe transport position when you switch the camera off.
I know, right? It's like they thought of everything. No more worrying about damaging your filters during pack-up. Now let's move on to control. I gotta say, the Alexa 35 is pretty user-friendly. It's got a touchscreen LCD, easy to navigate menus, and you can even customize the user buttons.
And if you need to quickly check some settings, like your ND filter value, you can use the side display without even waking up the main display. It's super handy.
Super handy. Okay, let's dive into the recording options. This is where things get really interesting.
So you've got two main choices for recording codecs. Aura, which is uncompressed and super high quality, and Apple ProRes, which is more efficient in terms of file size.
So if you want the absolute best image quality and maximum flexibility in post-production, Aura is the way to go.
Absolutely. But if you need smaller file sizes, ProRes is a great option. And when it comes to recording resolutions, the Alexa 35 has you covered.
Totally. There's 4K 16.9 for that classic widescreen look, 4K 2.1 if you're using large format lenses, 3.3K 6.5 for anamorphic shooting. The list goes on.
And all of this is made possible by scene-based encoding with log-C4, which captures a ton of late information. It gives you incredible freedom to manipulate the image in post-production.
So you've got all these choices for resolutions and codecs, and on top of that, the Alexa 35 automatically captures extensive metadata. Time code, frame rate, lens information, all that good stuff.
It's like having an assistant who's taking notes on everything. And speaking of assistants, let's talk about the web remote control functionality.
Oh yeah, that's a cool feature. You can control the camera remotely via Wi-Fi or Ethernet.
It's great for virtual studios and other advanced setups. You can control practically everything from your computer or tablet. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so we've covered the camera's core features, but what about accessories?
Well, ARI offers a huge range of accessories for the Alexa 35. Lens mounts, support systems, electronic add-ons, you name it.
And there are a couple of standouts like the audio extension module, which gives you more audio capabilities, and the beam-out battery adapter for added power flexibility.
You can really trick this camera out for any shooting scenario.
Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to mention a few things to keep in mind when using the LX-A35. Every camera has its quirks, right?
Oh, definitely.
One thing to be aware of is the black sun effect. It can occur when you're shooting really bright light sources, especially outdoors.
Right. And you might see some stuck pixels during long exposures. It's not uncommon, but it's something to be aware of.
And as always, be careful with your recording media. The last thing you want is to lose your footage.
Yeah, that's a nightmare scenario. Handle those cards with care.
Okay, so there you have it, the Airr Alexa 35. A truly impressive camera with a ton of features and flexibility.
It's a game changer for filmmakers who want to push the boundaries of what's possible.
But we're not done yet. In part 2, we're going to explore how the Alexa 35 is shaping the future of filmmaking, so stick around.
All right, so let's kind of zoom out a little bit here and talk about, the bigger picture. Like, how is the Alexa 35 actually changing the landscape of filmmaking?
Yeah, I love that, the big picture stuff. So we talked about textures a bit, how they give filmmakers so much control over the look of their film. But how do you think they're really going to impact the choices filmmakers make going forward?
Well, before, digital cameras were all about, like, capturing reality in the most, accurate way possible.
Right.
But now with textures, you can actually shape the image in ways that we couldn't before.
The whole new set of artistic tools, basically.
Totally. You're not just capturing what's there, you're actually creating an aesthetic. So you can evoke a certain mood or, enhance the storytelling.
Yeah.
You can imagine like a gritty crime drama.
Oh, totally.
With a texture that adds this like layer of grain, and it just makes it feel more, raw and intense. Right.
Or a romantic comedy with like a softer, more ethereal texture.
Oh, I love that.
The possibilities are like endless. I mean, ARI is always developing new textures, so.
It's so cool. The creative potential is just mind-blowing. But okay, speaking of the future of filmmaking, we can't not talk about virtual production. It's totally changing how we make movies.
Yeah, and the LX835 is really well suited for this kind of filmmaking.
Oh, totally. The image quality is already amazing. Plus, you've got the high dynamic range, the accurate color reproduction. It's like perfect for blending real and virtual elements seamlessly.
Right, and the ability to control the grain and sharpness with the textures.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge for matching the look of the virtual environment.
Yeah. You didn't even think about that. And all that metadata that the LX835 captures, that's going to be crucial for, tracking camera movements and lens information.
It is. All that is super important in virtual production.
Makes sense.
It's like they knew. I know, right? It's like they designed this camera with virtual production in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else is cool about this camera? The level of control it gives filmmakers.
Oh, absolutely. Like from, choosing the right texture to picking the resolution that works best for your project to having all that metadata, it really does put the filmmaker in control.
It's not just a tool, it's a partner.
That's a great way to put it.
We've covered a lot of ground today, and I still feel like we've only scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn. I mean, this manual, the Alexa 35 Software Update Package 1.2 User Manual, it's got so much information. I encourage everyone to really dive in and experiment and discover everything this camera has to offer.
That's what this deep dive is all about, giving you the knowledge and inspiring you to try new things.
Exactly. So, as you continue to explore the Alexa 35, keep in mind that technology is always evolving. Stay curious, experiment, and never stop learning.
It really is amazing how much technology has changed filmmaking. Who even knows what kind of tools we'll be using in like 5 years?
Yeah, I know, right? It's such a cool time to be a filmmaker. And the Alexa 35 is like leading the way,
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the LX835, I'm curious, what's like the one thing you hope people take away from this conversation?
Well, I guess the most important thing is to remember that this camera, it's not just a camera, It's a tool that really empowers filmmakers. It gives you so much creative control and freedom. It's really remarkable.
It's like more than just capturing images. It's about capturing a vision, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So if you're a filmmaker and you're really passionate about what you do and you're looking for the right camera to help you, bring your vision to life, the Alexa 35 is definitely worth checking out.
I totally agree. And if you want to learn even more, I mean, we just scratched the surface today, definitely check out the Alexa835 Software Update Package 1.2 User Manual. It's full of details and tips.
There's so much to learn. And remember, learning doesn't stop here. Keep being curious. Keep experimenting, Push the boundaries of what's possible.
That's a great note to end on. So until next time, everyone, happy filmmaking.